Hi, good morning. Welcome to this webinar today from Ubiqu. It's really an important topic today and something that is really relevant to eIDAS. And we have great speaker today, Steffen Schwalm, and we have Boris Goranov from Ubiqu, who's also going to be talking about some practical sides of implementation. And it's really good. I won't hog the webinar too much, but to say welcome. We've got a timeline as follows. We're going to do brief introductions, then we'll have a short eIDAS 2 introduction in case anybody's not quite sure about the changes and what's been happening. Then talking about QTSP strategies and why they just are more than good technology. Then we're talking about verifying credentials, options to become a QTSP, because once you realize you need to be one, you've got to look at how you're going to do it. And then we'll have some Q&As, which will be great. And then we'll wrap up in about 45 minutes, something like that. So setting expectations. So first off, I'd like to introduce Steffen Schwalm from he is Principal Consultant, MSG Security Advisors, and he will be doing the main talk. And after that, Boris Goranov from Ubiqu, who's a Chief Executive Officer, and he will explain some of the more practical sides from business point of view as well. So, Steffen, can you give a brief summary of your background and things so people get to know you?
Okay. Warm welcome also from my side, everybody. Just short words, because I'm between my introduction is between you and the I think much more interesting content. I'm lead the identity and trust subject at MSG, which is closely related with eIDAS, qualified trust service, and so on, supporting clients in this subject and also supporting QTSP in becoming QTSP. And how this can be done, we will present in the next round, about 45 minutes.
Thank you, Steffen. Boris, brief introduction.
Boris Goranov, founder and CEO of Ubiqu. In '99, we cloned the orange SIM card already, and then we showed that secure elements are really important in the world, and I've been in security ever since and loving it.
That sounds great. So thank you very much again, and there will be, just to remind you, Q&As at the end. Steffen, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Then let's start with a short eIDAS 2 introduction. What's new? You know, the eIDAS we have since 2014, but we needed a bit an update due to developments of decentralized identities and the fact that identity is more than only your eID. We have the new eIDAS regulation, which was published in May 2024. I think the main changes is that there will be an UDI wallet for any citizens and companies in Europe to be provided by the member state on behalf of the member state or by private organizations endorsed by the member state, and in any case certified by conformity assessment bodies. So we enable in Europe self-sovereign identity and combine it with legal trust. And on the other hand, another goal of eIDAS 2 is to standardize the use of electronic trust services to avoid the inconsistencies we have had in eIDAS 1, where we didn't have mandatory implementing acts for all trust services. And so different conditions in the competition between the different member states exactly to solve this, eIDAS 2 came up and was published in May 24. Next slide, please. Then let's go into the details. First of all, I want to answer the question, what are qualified trust services and which qualified trust services contains eIDAS? Next slide, please. The eIDAS provides trust service for the whole life cycle based on a common technical framework. If you look in the eIDAS in Article 3, number 16, you will find a generic definition. A trust service means electronic service normally provided for remuneration, which consists of any of the following. Yeah? And then there is the big list of trust services. As mentioned, eIDAS we have since 2014. So the blue ones are the trust services we already have. So issuing certificates for signatures and seals, timestamps, the validation services for signatures, e-delivery for secure communication, the preservation of signatures, and website certificates. And additionally, we have since May 24, management of secure signature creation devices, exactly this separation we had in the eIDAS, one issuing certificates on one hand and the QCD on the other. This is solved now with this management of signature creation device, also as a QTSP. We have the ledger, so DRT as a trust service. We have archiving. So to ensure we can read the document in 20 years. But I think the most important one is the one on the attestations. So a trust service responsible for issuance of your driver license, your product passport, your diploma, etc. So exactly the subject which came up with this self-sovereign identity, providing their identity is much more than only the eID identifying the person, or the identity for the company, defining it's this company from this country, but also additional subjects, and we solve the whole life cycle. Next slide, please. Which you can see here. Yes, so trust service ensures trustworthy end-to-end digitization. We start with the identity. We need to identify ourselves at the service. We need to provide attestation of attributes, so evidences like diploma, for example. The relying party has to manage them. They have to validate them. They may also have to issue, like your diploma, like maybe your credit card, something like this. And exactly for this, we need, at the end of the day, the trust services to achieve this legal trust. So attestation of attributes, but also signing. We need to sign contracts, for example. And at the end of the day, we may need to archive and to preserve them. So means trust services ensure trustworthy digitization end-to-end for any regulated ecosystem. Why regulated? Yeah, you may not need a trust service to get the attestation, maybe to access your public library, but if there's a more higher legal risk, like for diploma, like in the supply chain, then exactly this is the playing field of trust services. And this means at the end of the day, we need to discuss about the strategy and business model. Do I want to become QTSP, or is it much more valuable for me to use a QTSP, a trust service? If we decide to become QTSP, we need to do the conformity assessment and the audit as required in the eIDAS. And integration and operation, is it a standalone, or is it integrated maybe in an identity platform, a complete service serving identity management, and at the end of the day, also the trust service like signing or issuance of attestation of attributes. Next slide, please. Yeah. We know what is a QTSP, but what's the relationship to the UDI wallet? Yeah, so, we have those both parts in the eIDAS. First of all, there are some musts. A QTSP has to accept the UDI wallet in case of identification to issue certificates, so especially signature seals, attestation of attributes. QTSP has to be able to issue certificates in an UDI wallet, so And so a QTSP needs to register as relying party. So it is necessary to interact as a QTSP, especially for issuing certificates, attestation of attributes with a eUDI wallet. On the other hand, we need to take into account that the QTSP can also use other identification procedures. So it's not bound to the OID. It could be also a video ident, for example. It could be an eID. And an attestation of attributes, as the main use case, can be issued in any IT system. So there is no need to issue it only into an eUDI wallet. And the eUDI wallet is relevant from 2027 only, but the business for attestation of attributes starts now. We can now digitize our diplomas, our product passports, our credit cards, our tickets in the for the airplane, our boarding passes, and so on. So we can build now the ecosystem and then smoothly integrate the eUDI wallet, and the technical standards are pretty much similar, or pretty much the same for the OID and also for other wallets. So message for trust service, the business starts now. How to become a QTSP? We know what is it. We know there's a market, but how to become one? Next slide, please. This picture shows a bit the trust model in eIDAS. So a QTSP will become QTSP because of a conformity assessment by a conformity assessment body. The conformity assessment body is trustworthy because it's accredited by a national accreditation body. Everybody of them supervised by a national supervisory body and in close collaboration with the Cybersecurity Authority. Conformity assessment done based on European standards developed by ETSI and CEN. And similar we have for the eUDI wallet. Yeah, they also have this conformity assessment. You need an eUDI wallet provider to be endorsed by the member state. And you have this conformity assessment by a conformity assessment body. So long story short, to become QTSP, you need a successful conformity assessment. Next. And to see, okay, which CAPs, which conformity assessment bodies we have, there are the links online at the Trust List browser. There you also can see who is QTSP. Yeah, what are the requirements to become a qualified trust service? Slide, please. As mentioned, any QTSP has to go through a conformity assessment only for QTSP. So the difference to TSP is the QTSP, we build a security in the beginning. For the TSP, they can do what they want, but they do not have the legal trust. And in the case of security issue, they have to mention it. So in TSP, the client takes the risk. In QTSP, the QTSP takes the risk. We have the security assessment based on European standards. We have to take into account this QTSP underlying is two. They have become critical infrastructure. And concerning liability, there's the full liability at the side of the QTSP. So it's the chance to shift the risk to somebody else. In this case, trusted third party or a QTSP. So long story short, QTSP has to go through a conformity assessment and proven by a trusted third party against European standards. Slide, please. This means in the first step, fundamentals, this is the 401. It shows you are capable. Yeah, you have an ISMS, you have a business continuity management, you are capable to run any kind of trust service. Afterwards, we look in the kind of trust service you want to become. In case of issuance of certificates, we need to look in the identification. Yeah, so OID wallet, or in case you use another identification procedure, this needs an additional conformity assessment for the signature and QA. I just mentioned here the standards. So then after we know you are capable, then we look in those standards and define the necessary documents like trust service practice statement, like an information security policy, so that you are prepared for the conformity assessment, which contains a bit two steps. One is the document check, and stage two is, did you implement what you documented? Yeah, so on-site tests is then, as it mentions, the conformity assessment will look in your data center. Did you implement what you documented? And if everything is fine, you will be qualified and listed in the trust list. Then you are QTSP. Looks easy. But we see, get legal trust. If you will become certified, you can certify any member state, any conformity assessment body, but you're recognized in Europe. But at the end of the day, there's the question, where's the market? Yeah. So let's look in the market of the trust services. Yeah. As mentioned, we need to discuss what's the target market, what's the business model, and how do we provide a QTSP standalone or integrated in other solutions. But this depends on the use case itself. And I think this is coming here. Yes, as you can see, there are no limits. Especially for attestation of attributes, there is basically no limits. In industry, we could use it for supply chain. We could use it for maintenance reports of an airplane, for example, or for another big machine. We can use it for data sharing. We can use attestations also for the digital prescription, patient degree, in vaccine passports, in the e-health sector, for payments tokenization, so the evidence for ownership and the trade of ownership. We could do with trust services, in this case, attestations plus ledger, for example. We could use it for KYC, KYB subjects with the wallet for citizens, but also with organizational wallets independently, if already or not. We could use it for confirmation procedures in public, for shared mobility. There are pretty much no limits at the end of the day. But this means eIDAS to enable citizens, companies, and authorities to manage all evidences in one system. To achieve the full legal trust, QTSP is the key. Next slide, please. Yeah. When should I become a QTSP? Okay. There are many chances. There's a bit effort, but when should I do this? Hope I can answer this question with the next slide. Main question is strategy. So what's your business model? Is your business model really the issuance of attestations, or is it something you would, it's better to shift it to a trusted third party? So if you're an authority or a company issuing such attestation or plan to issue with, let's say, 100 evidences, 100 attestations per month, it might be the better idea to engage a trusted third party, in this case a QTSP, for example. What's the target market? So because on this, it depends also a bit on the technology and on the formats you use. The amount of transaction and users, as mentioned, is less transaction as you have. It might be easier to engage in a QTSP. Also, if you currently provide an identity platform, you already have those data in the most cases. But then the QTSP is the logical next step to have the full value chain. And the message: choose your country of conformity assessment wisely. Yeah, we have a common technical framework, but as NIS2 is a directive, so we have national specifics on the security subjects for QTSP. The requirements might be certainly higher in some countries than in the other one, but think about where do you want to sell the trust service. To get certified in certain countries might be an issue if you want to provide your service in another market. Yes, formally a QTSP is always a QTSP, but the difference is something else between the legal requirement and the feeling of the client. And this is why the clear message is choose your country wisely, so that if you take everything into account, then we have three possibilities to become QTSP, or the relying party using a QTSP, or maybe a software provider. You have an issuance component and you sell it to any QTSP. Also could be a solution. So main subject is strategy at the end of the day. And yes, as you may imagine, as MSG, we are proud to support you. I think this is the next slide in this subject. Happy to support you in the whole life cycle in becoming a QTSP or engaging a QTSP, so that you can design your business model and benefits on the eIDAS 2 regulation. This from my side. Thank you very much, and I hand over to Boris.
Thank you very much, Stefan. After you have figured out as an organization what's your strategy, what's your place in the ecosystem, then it could be that you come to the conclusion that you're a member state or you want to issue a private wallet. That means that you need to start thinking about what is, how do I make a compliant eIDAS 2, eIDAS high compliant wallet? And the other side is, okay, I want to be a QTSP. What does that entail? Can I have the next slide? At the end of the day, as currently with the eIDAS regulation enacted, there are 19 months to go until December 2026 to have all the wallets and all the authentic sources available to service wallets. But if you step a bit back, is how do you build the services sufficiently, effectively, and sustainable? So that means, how do you make a wallet compliant and how do you become a QTSP? That means that as a user, at the end of the day, I am a citizen. I have the right to be digitally served by my government. I can go to a government authentic source and get that loaded. There are a couple of roles that always come back. And of course, me as a citizen or as a person, I'm the holder of a digital wallet. And then there is a issuer that is able to service a wallet. So that means that they are loading a credential into my wallet. And then I, as a person, can then take that and distribute that to different verifiers. What is interesting to notice is that the verifiers and the issuer need to, the verifier needs to trust the issuer, but they don't necessarily need to communicate. So we are basically replicating what we used to do with paper, where I, as a citizen, go and collect all the documents I need to do a transaction. It means I collect the documents with the issuer, so they ascertain my identity, and then I give the documents to the verifier. And now we're replicating that digitally, which means is that I have actual control of what's happening. And so the first and most important step therein is that governments are issuing digital identities into my mobile phone. So there is a government identity into my wallet where the government basically says, okay, this is Boris, and I'm now able to show to verifiers that I'm Boris digitally. Now let's take an example. I'm Boris. I've studied here at the Technical University in Delft, so I have a university diploma there. I first go to the Dutch government, I download the wallet, and the government has put a digital identity into my wallet. So now I am able, as a holder, to go to the issuer, and here the issuer basically works as a verifier where I present my government-issued digital identity, and I say to the university, hello, I'm Boris. Would you be so kind as to issue me my digital diploma into my wallet? And then they issue my digital diploma into my wallet. And now let's say I have a very interesting employer and I want to work at Ferrari. So I go to Ferrari, they say, okay, I like you, we want to employ you. So then with my government issued identity, they know I am Boris. And then with my university issued diploma, they know I'm Boris and I have a diploma, so I'm qualified to perform my work. Or maybe I'm a mechanic, and I'm certified by Ferrari that I'm allowed to service Ferraris. Next slide. Now, the member states need to make available wallets to citizens, and they can basically choose to either do it themselves or have private wallets. So that means that the government or the private entities that are going to introduce private wallets need to be able to do that at scale. The EU has a target to have 230 million people with identity means. And the only way to do that is if you're able to have a remote identity verification solution and a remote automated issuance of identity creation into wallets. And of course, the EU has created an ecosystem to enable that with eIDAS 2. Now, the identity in my wallet is basically government issued and has the same quality as a passport issued identity. So that means that when I physically verify a passport, or if I digitally verify a digital identity from a wallet, it's the same identification quality. Now, passports are special because passports have a secure chip in them. And with that secure chip, we know that it's an authentic document issued by the government, and it has the data of me as a citizen in it through NFC, so that it can be verified. Now, mobile phones don't have a chip in there that is suitable, and that's what we're going to talk about now. So the architecture reference framework from the EU recognizes that mobile phones or EU digital wallets on mobile phones need hardware-backed storage. So they need a secure chip, just like in a passport, to store your digital credentials securely so that verifiers and issuers can have confidence in that. Now, there are 4 options identified by the architecture reference framework. And those 4 options are basically, next slide, please. And next. So you can have a digital identity card. So a physical identity card that you hold with your mobile phone. So that's basically what a lot of people already have. But then you need to issue it in a eIDAS compliant way. You could use the storage of Apple and Google. So on the mobile phone itself, or Samsung. Or the mobile network operators already have a SIM card in there, or there is a eSIM on the mobile phone, which also is a possibility. And then the last possibility is that you have a remote secure element. So you have a actual hardware in a data center that's remotely connected to your mobile phone, to your wallet, so that the wallet is assisted to have hardware-backed storage. And that's what we provide. So if you compare all these solutions, the first thing that is important is that it's eIDAS high compliant, so that it's secure. Now, what you see is that a ID card, it's eIDAS high compliant, but the storage of Apple and Google, next slide, is not. It's not secure, and the same is for mobile network operators. But on the other hand, if you have remote storage, then that's compliant. So in the first column, you see is that currently you have 2 options, either issue an ID card or issue a remote secure element, because mobile phones currently have secure elements in them from either handset manufacturer or mobile network operators. But the problem with those secure elements is they are under control of Apple and Google, or of, for instance, Telefonica. But that means that they are in control of your keys and not you. So to put it more plainly, the handset manufacturer and device manufacturers and the mobile network are protected from you, but you are not protected from them. And that basically is exemplified by that it's not secure, that is not certified in the right way according to the eIDAS 2. Now, the second question is it scalable? Identity cards are scalable. You can just issue to anybody, and they are inclusive. You don't need anything special to get them. Because the device manufacturers, handset manufacturers, secure elements are not secure, not certified, they're also not scalable, because you now first need to certify them, and then you need to create new secure elements, certify the secure elements, then build mobile phones, new mobile phones with those secure elements in there, and then use those secure elements and mobile phones to start using it. So for mobile phones, it will take at least 10 years. For the mobile network operator, there's an additional complexity that every mobile network operator needs to do this. So in theory, it is scalable because for the mobile network operators, because they can do they swap the SIM cards, but it's not inclusive because you need new phones or to support it. Now, with a remote secure element, it's both scalable and inclusive. But on the other hand, if we look at ID cards, if you lose the card, you lose all your keys and credentials, so you cannot recover. And that's the same for the mobile phones. You lose the phone, you lose the keys. The problem with ID cards is that they are not user-friendly. You always need to carry them and you need to keep them with your mobile phone. And you cannot issue them remotely, unattendedly. So that means that people have to go somewhere to pick it up. There's a logistical process. For mobile phones and for the network operators, that's of course, they're super user-friendly and you can activate them remotely. So what you see is that when you have a remote solution, you basically get best of both worlds. But what you get in addition is recovery, backup, and recovery, which is very valuable because when you have a mobile phone, you want to actually replicate the content of your wallet when you lose your phone with a new phone. Next slide. So if you're a wallet provider, you need to solve the remote secure element problem. But if you're a QTSP, or if you're an authentic source or a government organization or within your value chain and your strategy that you become a QTSP, you need to figure out how to become a QTSP. And basically it boils down to all the standards. If you put them in a big Excel, you have 50 line items in an Excel and you need to demonstrate compliance. But what people underestimate are used to is demonstrating compliance is you need to write it down and then you need to show that it exists. But within the QTSP and in the eIDAS framework, you need to be certified. That means that you don't only show compliance, that it's working when the auditor is there, but you also need to show compliance that's effective in time, so that it worked 3 months ago when the auditor is there. So when you're a QTSP, you basically have 3 options to solve this problem. Option 1 is simply outsource everything to an existing QTSP, and so they are the QTSP on your behalf. So that means that it's their name and they're the QTSP, they're just, and you outsourced everything. The other option is just becoming a QTSP yourself and doing it yourself. The process is that, of course, you have control over all the processes, all the technologies, but the concept is that it usually takes 2 to 3 years to become a QTSP if you do everything right, because you cannot work with minimal viable products. You really need to be ready and certified when you start. And basically what Ubiqu has created is a best of both world options, is that you become the QTSP, but we have solved all the technology. So we have pre-certified all the components you need for a trust service, including the underlying operational infrastructure. So that means that it's basically the best option because you become the QTSP, you have full control, but you don't have to worry about the technology. And we are able to do that as Ubiqu is because we have a remote secure element that, and with that we solve the hardest problem, cryptographic key management. And because we have solved cryptographic key management, we are actually able to automate everything and have solve the 85% of all the technological compliance for a QTSP, which leaves you as a customer that you only need to solve the organizational part of being a QTSP. And that means having QTSP management, understanding your strategy, your risk management, being a reliable organization. And as a QTSP, it's like a marriage. When you start, you need to figure out how you're going to stop. So you need to have a termination plan in place for the moment that you stop becoming a QTSP and how you're going to handle that. So what happens is that with our platform, you get all the qualified a QTSP compliant infrastructure, a QTSP compliant operational environment, and a QTSP compliant DevOps environment, where we then have our pre-certified QTSP components, so that you can basically build any trust service on top of that and become a QTSP. And the beauty of it is because it's pre-certified, it can actually be done in a couple of months instead of in a couple of years, where you're basically completely de-risked because the technical complexity is taken away, but also you are able to shift capital expenditures in the form of investments of building out your platform to investments in to be early and fast on the market, be compliant with your timelines and to the regulatory requirements, whilst investing in actually getting the mass and the market there. So it's basically the quickest, the lowest risk option available. So, and with that, I'm happy to answer any questions around that.
Thank you very much, Boris. Thank you very much, Steffen. It was really very interesting and very informative, and has brought a few questions up. We've answered some, but the first question I'd like to ask is probably Boris, about the security and secure access to the remote source element.
Yes.
That's the biggest worry for anybody, of course.
Yeah, so in essence, even if you have a local secure element on a mobile phone, you have a wallet, and the wallet needs to be connected securely to the secure element on the mobile phone. We call that a trusted channel. So we have created software in the remote secure, in the secure element, to create that trusted channel between the wallet and the secure element, so that you're independent of the telco or the handset manufacturer. So that means that you as a user have complete control over the credentials of the wallet stored in the secure element. If you solve that problem like I just described locally, then from a security point of view, you can take that secure element and put it in a data center. What that means is that you still have the direct connection between the wallet and the secure element, but it's remotely. So if you like to use, look at it in a different way, we have separated user keys from device keys. And by making that separation, there's nothing on the mobile phone available to be stolen. But on the other hand, the key material in the HSM in the data center doesn't function as a normal data center, but is exclusively protected by the mobile phone. It's creating basically a micro instance in the HSM under the control of the wallet. And that gives the user control of their credentials, and the people running the HSM cannot do anything with it.
Right. Thank you. That's interesting. So a secure pipe, basically.
Absolutely.
Going through it. Right. Thank you. I hope that's answered the question. We've got a few more questions, but just to say that if you need some follow-ups afterwards, I'm sure if you send them to Boris or Steffen, will be able to answer them. So there's another question here. Steffen means by QEAA ensuring scaling of ecosystem. So as most cases do not need PIDs LOA high. So would you like to explain that in a little bit more detail, Steffen, please?
Yeah, it's the subject putting less text on a slide with a bigger idea behind. The reason is that attestation of attributes are the main use case in the eIDAS, because the business case and use cases are nearly unlimited. And for an attestation of attributes, you do not need the UDI wallet. Yeah? You can issue it in any system, and you can identify on LOA substantial. And as I said, the QA is unlimited. There is not forbidden to issue an attestation of attribute QA, which pretty much identifies yourself. So contains the data from the PID, but is not a PID. Yeah. And this you can use for the identification on LOA substantial. And exactly this makes it easier and is really a key, as the most use cases do not need LOA high. And if you have an easy way for the identification on LOA substantial using pretty much the same technology, like for your driver license, like for your diploma, like for your tickets, and so on, you can really boost the ecosystem with the qualified attestation of attributes. So this is exactly what I mean, that the use cases for qualified attestation of attributes are pretty much unlimited. There's enough space to be creative with your business cases, with your use cases, and you are still within the eIDAS regulation.
Thank you very much, Stefan. Right, I have one from Petar here. Throughout the QTSP process, would that mean I can outsource all technological components to Ubiqu? Would that mean I can focus on the business side?
Yes, that's absolutely the case. So our customers can focus on the business side, and we have managed away all the technological aspects and the risk associated with the implementation.
Yes, thank you. I have a question from before, which Pavel also answered. In percentage-wise, what do you think each method that you described for QTSPs will actually be implemented in Europe?
For the remote secure element?
Yeah.
Yeah, or the secure element. So basically, the Germany did a inventory on the infrastructure on what is available. So what I just told is basically also what the German government concluded. So that means that in the short term, 100% will be remote secure elements.
Yeah,
because
I'm sorry. What I think it was referring to was how many will be in the cloud, how many will be outsourced, how many will be in-house, etc.
Oh, for the QTSPs.
Yeah.
I think it will be a third, right? So there are large government organizations that really like to do it themselves, right? So that's obviously okay. There are also what you see with authentic sources in the EU. There will be like aggregators that are aggregating a bunch of QTSPs together, and there we can help as well. And you have intermediate organizations that will be wanting to be a QTSP themselves, especially for business reasons, but then can leverage our kinds of outsourced cloud solutions for speed.
Thank you. I have a couple more questions here. One, an additional concern about the software-based key material, which gives you access to the HM, could potentially be vulnerable, and then the bad actor would have access to the HSM.
From a risk point of view, you have the same risk even if it's a local secure element. So that doesn't change the risk. So the keys are just stored just as securely on a local HSM as a remote HSM. So if the bad actor is able to access the key material on the remote HSM, they would have also been able to do that on a local HSM. The difference is that if they do it on a local secure element, then nobody will notice. But if they try to hack the remote secure element, the transaction and risk monitoring systems can flag that and secure the user.
Right. So there's no downside really compared to other methodologies, which is good. We've just put on, by the way, in the Q&As, the email addresses of Stefan and Boris, if anybody should need that. And I think that about covers it. Oh, we've got one more question. Do I need to issue a separate remote secure element for each type? for each type? I don't quite understand that. Boris, do I need to issue a separate remote
certificate? No, so the secure element is a container for the user that gives the user exclusive control over the key material. So for each credential issued, you can just put it in the same secure element.
Okay, thank you. I think we've covered most of the questions. I'd like to say thank you very much to Boris and Steffen for providing really interesting discussion and highlighting the QTSPs and how it all happens and how you can be involved and become a QTSP and the various options. I'd like to thank all the audience for listening and hopefully engaging with us and also engaging with us with the Q&As afterwards. And I'd like to thank Ubiqu specifically for hosting this webinar. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you everybody for coming. I hope you enjoyed it. Questions as we have put in, you can contact Steffen and Boris directly. Thank you very much indeed, everybody, and thank you.